Hey there, future teacher, and welcome to another Teacher Preps Teacher Certification test preparation lesson. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to write your passing response for your case study of the assessment of professional knowledge. I'm going to be giving you a walkthrough of the key aspect for your teacher certification exam in order to help you construct your essay so that you pass on test day. If you're not already, make sure that you click the blue button and get enrolled in the full access to this test prep lesson. And once you are, simply click the login button. You'll be directed to all of our teacher test preparation materials and click the assessment of professional knowledge primary education lesson. That is the exam that we're looking at. That's going to take you to the test prep roadmap that walks you straight through everything that you need to know in order to pass your exam on test day. Check out this checklist that gives you exactly the lessons that you want to watch and read and participate in. And if you haven't already, look at our About video that's on YouTube, as well as our test prep lesson and website, all about how many questions and how much time you receive on the assessment of professional knowledge primary education exam. But today's lesson is all about how to write your essay. Specifically, this is lesson number 2, and if you haven't already watched, go back and watch lesson number 1 of the essay workshop lesson, where I teach you how to write in real time your essay response. Now, in lesson number 1, I showed you the work product assignment, but in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to pass the case study assignment. Now, before we do so, we want to make sure that we understand how we are being evaluated on test day. So let's look at our scoring scale, and we're going to start at the bottom. Remember that if you receive a score of B, that stands for blank, and that simply means that you did not fill out the essay, and that usually happens when people on test day did not have enough time to get to the essay or constructed response assignments. Now, if you get a score of U, that means that you wrote a response that is not relevant to your essay prompt. So if, for example, you are asked to provide effective instruction in an elementary school classroom and you type in something about what you like to do as a hobby on your free time during the weekends, they're going to say, nope, that's not applicable, unless, of course, you're talking about providing effective instruction. But if you're like, no, I like to go skateboard on a Saturday morning and then go hang out and eat some burritos or something, that's going to give you a score of U. We don't want that. Now, if you get a score of 1, that demonstrates minimal or no comprehension of the prompt. If you get a score of 2, that's limited understanding. And if you get a score of 3 or 4, that's what we're aiming for. Of course, 4 is the best, and the higher your score, the higher chance you have to pass on test day. A score of 3 represents a good grasp of the content and skills, whereas a score of 4 shows that you are totally ready for the classroom, and that, of course, is the best. So now let's go down here and let's scroll all the way down to our case study assignment. And in case you haven't watched the first lesson yet, you won't know until now. I'll explain it now that we at teacherpreps.com have trained an AI essay grader for each individual essay response so that you can actually read our sample assignment and then type your essay response into here, and you will get a score and feedback for how you can improve your score so that you are totally ready for your exam. So what we want to do here is we want to read this sample case study assignment, and then I will provide a written feedback, or excuse me, I will actually write and craft my response just like I would on test day, so that you can see how I think and write in order to pick up some insight and some skills and some knowledge so that you can improve your own writing for test day. So follow along on the screen as I read this case study assignment. Use the case study below to complete the assignment that follows. A 4th grade class is learning a science unit focused on ecosystems. The learning begins with a quick draw activity where students sketch an ecosystem element, like a plant or animal, they learned about from the previous lesson. Each student has 5 minutes for this activity, and they are encouraged to think about how their chosen element interacts with the ecosystem. During the independent activity, the teacher circulates the room, observing the students' drawings, offering engagement, and answering questions. After the quick draw, the teacher introduces the next activity, which is this. Students will pair up and share their drawings. Each pair will discuss how their chosen elements interact with each other in an ecosystem, and they will write a joint summary on a shared piece of paper. The teacher reminds them that effective feedback is clear, constructive, and kind. Students engage in the peer feedback session for 5 minutes while the teacher listens in and provides guidance as needed. The teacher wants to explore additional methods of peer assessment to further evaluate students' understanding and engagement of these science concepts. So that is a similar sample assignment that you'll receive on test day. Now, of course, no one except for the test administrators knows what the prompt looks like, but based off the official testing agency website, we have created our own sample case study, which we just read, and this is going to be great practice for you. So now it says, after reviewing the information provided from above, write your response of approximately 150 to 250 words in which you, number one, identify one additional peer review assessment method suitable for evaluating students' participation in science activities, and then second, describe how you would design or implement the peer review assessment considering necessary adaptations to accommodate various learning styles and needs. And then number three, explain why this peer review method would be effective in collecting evidence of individual students' understanding and guiding further instruction. Now, in case you are wondering how long a 150 to 250 word response is, I have collected and just written some sample text. You can see that this isn't English, it's just sample text, and we can see that in total this is 200 words. So we also just read that we need to answer 3 questions, so more than likely you will have 3 small paragraphs. And remember to answer these questions thoroughly and completely. So first and foremost, what I like to do is kind of recap the understanding and summarize that I know what I need to write about. And this is a strategy that I highly recommend that you do the same. So just in my own head, I'm going to kind of reverse and kind of just say again what it is that I need to write about so that I clearly understand. Again, this is a test prep strategy. So I'm going to say an effective peer review assessment method that complements the existing ecosystem. This is all about, was this 4th grade? And the students will use the ecosystem conference in order to get feedback from each other. All right, so let's go here, and there we go, 1 second. Now what I want to do is I want to create my own I want to create a response here. So I'm just thinking in real time how I should start this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say in effective peer review assessment method. But you know what? If I accidentally click the return or enter button, this will submit this, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to go to copy, and then I'm just going to open up a new doc, whether you want to use Word or Notion or Google Docs, all good. But I'm going to type it here so that I can then copy and paste my response back into the AI essay grader, and we can see what grade that I get. All right, so an effective peer, right here, let's see, peer review. And remember that if you misspell or you incorrectly use grammar, you are not being evaluated on those 2 aspects in your teacher certification exam, but instead your test administrators are checking whether or not you understand pedagogy and effective instruction in the elementary school classroom. So, however, if you see a misspelling, go back and try and correct it. All right, so peer review assessment method, let's say that complements the existing ecosystem. Lesson is, let's say, ecosystem conference. looks like that's what we're calling it from the prompt. And so this first sentence shows the test administrator that I understood the prompt. And then I'm going to go a little bit deeper here. Let's say in this method, after completing their drawings, students will engage in a structured, let's say, discussion presenting their work and receiving feedback from peers, mimicking a scientific, let's say, conference. Okay, so this is answering the first question. Here we've identified a peer review method that fits seamlessly with the lesson's activities. Next, let's describe the implementation process in detail, focusing on how this method caters to diverse learning styles and needs. I'm just going to go back over here and look back at number 2. So describe how you would design or implement peer review assessment. Okay, so great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tab down or hit the enter or return button a couple of times, and I'm going to say, let's start this new paragraph and answer question number 2. To implement the, let's call it, again, let's stick with the same wording, ecosystem conference method, students will be grouped by diverse learning preferences. Each group will have a facilitator to guide the discussion, making sure that each student presents their drawing and explains its role in the ecosystem. All right, great. Now this format supports, and your grader on test day will appreciate going a little bit deeper here. Format supports, let's say, we can recognize that there are different types of learners. So auditory, visual, and let's say kinesthetic learners by involving speaking, listening, and viewing. And you know what, I might go back here, go here and say, and even moving during the presentation. So you get that tactile experience as well. Now that we've outlined the implementation, number 2, it's critical for us to justify why this peer review method is effective. So let's go back, check number 3, explain why this peer review method will be effective. Okay, good. So I'm going to tab down here, create a new paragraph, and in this paragraph, let's focus on educational benefits, tying all of this back to the goals of enhancing student understanding and interaction. So what I'm going to do to end my response is I'm going to say the ecosystem conference, I capitalized it before, so let's keep doing that, conference method is particularly, actually I don't even need to use that, it's effective because it promotes active learning and critical thinking by presenting and defending the students or their ideas in a conference format. Students deepen their understanding of ecosystem interactions and develop essential communication skills. Okay, let's finish this off with one more sentence. This method allows for immediate and, let's say, constructive feedback. Notice here how I'm using the buzzwords that our test graders will appreciate, which is vital for reinforcing scientific concepts and adjusting, let's say, misconceptions that can happen, but misconceptions in real time. Love it. All right, what I would do on test days, I would just have a quick look and check if the structured approach looks great, but to me it does. So what I want to do is I want to copy this. I want to go back over to the AI essay grader. I'm going to drop that in by just simply copying and pasting that right in, making sure that all of the words are included, clicking the submit button and moment of truth. Let's see the score that I get. Oh, look at that. All right, score of excellent. Now, if you watched lesson 1, you would have seen that I only got a score of 3. Now, only is not exactly very kind to say, because a score of 3 or 4 is really acceptable, but I'm really excited because these AI essay graders are really strict, and it's hard to get a score of 4. So, score of 4, it gives you feedback, which is great. You can improve your essay for next time in case, or specifically if I would have gotten a score of 3, 2, or 1. But if you are ready, and I think you are, it's time for you to practice your writing skills. Make sure that you go to teacherpreps.com so that you can pass your teacher certification exam on your next try. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.